Hello and welcome to the Platinum Group interview series. I'm Dale Kirshner. Today we're talking with Platinum Group's founder and chairman, Dean Bachelor, who has spent 40 years helping companies in troubled times such as these. And much of it's been done with something Dean refers to as meaningful capitalism. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is what is meaningful capitalism and why is it more important today, perhaps, than ever to talk about it. So Dean, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dale. Appreciate being here with you.
So what do you think about meaningful capitalism today? I know you've been talking about this for years, but when it comes to the COVID-19 recession and everything that people are going through, why is it important to really address this subject right now?
Well, there's so many businesses that have been shut down, not through their own doing, of course, but by the external events of what's happening with the pandemic. And when you're a business owner and an entrepreneur and you build a business, you're growing that business. Maybe you've had some ups and downs and some struggles, but you're involved in it and you're growing and building a business that hopefully has some value to you. You're a part of the capitalist system. You're trading goods and services for monies. You're exchanging services. You're building products, whatever you're doing, whether you're a manufacturer or a service company or a distributor, but you're involved in the capitalist system, which is still the best. There's a lot of different systems, and it's still the best system out there for creating not only wealth, but for doing good within a community and within a nation. There's been an enormous wealth built through capitalism over the years, and people have in this country donated more money and given away more and done more good for not only others within this country, but others all over the world with various mission work and nonprofits that are doing really good things, sponsored by and paid for by people who have a business or by employees who are working in that business. So the term capitalism is sometimes viewed negatively. And I think in today's environment and what we see going on with the disappointing events that are unfolding in this country, with the riots and with the destruction of so much and so many businesses, it breaks my heart to see these things occur. And hopefully what we're doing here at Platinum Group is trying to practice meaningful capitalism, and that is doing some good by stepping in to help companies that are going through difficult times, and which many are right now.
Yeah, and we talked earlier about examples of companies that are practicing meaningful capitalism today. I want to talk in a few minutes about how Platinum Group does this and how you've done it over the years, but whether it's Main Street Bakery or other companies out there, tell us a little bit about some of these examples, because to your point, a lot of times we tend to hear, whether it's through Hollywood or other places, that capitalism is evil. But in terms of the meaningful side, what can you talk about in terms of some examples today where that meaningfulness is really helping society?
Well, there are hundreds of companies in America right now that have switched gears. They're producing face masks where before they weren't, or they're producing ventilators because they're a metal bending shop and they can do those kinds of things. They've got skilled workers. They've got a business that can adapt. And so they're putting out products and services for the communities they live in and for the country to help the country get through this pandemic. I had a call from an entrepreneur who I've known for a number of years just last week. He's come across a new product that's a new sanitizing. It's not chemical based, and it is organic, and he's very interested in funding. He's built one business, sold it, made some money, and now he wants to invest in this business. So we were talking and brainstorming about how he could do that and how he could provide some meaningful activity in the middle of this pandemic. If he can put out a product, because it's hard to find the clean wipes, sanitizing wipes out there in the stores. The shelves are bare often. And so he's seeing a need, and that's often what entrepreneurs do. They see needs and they do something to meet those needs. That's usually the origin of almost every business. There's an unmet need and they see it and they want to meet that need.
Yep. And then I know Main Street Bakery, I think they've been providing some bread to food shelves. I know we've heard of other places, whether it's breweries creating hand sanitizer, or there's also Vamela, I think it is, in St. Paul. They actually switched from making signs for events to making the face shields at their Salt Lake City location. So there are a lot of examples. I think you're right.
And our favorite pitch man on TV, Mike Lindell, with My Pillow, has turned an entire plant down in Shakopee into a plant that's making things for the pandemic, not making pillows.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Hundreds of employees are involved in this.
So is that like face shields, or do you know what those are?
I think they're making the face masks, the masks themselves.
Yep, that makes sense given he has
the cloth. It might be something else, but I know it has a product that's used for the pandemic.
Okay, cool. Now tell us a little bit about meaningful capitalism as to why did you pen a mission statement about meaningful capitalism almost 20 years ago?
Good question. Our firm was going through some annual planning process that we go through every year. And I was trying to think of what we wanted to cover during that planning process. And pretty standard nowadays with back then. So it was mission, vision, values. The values, we were going to use the entire group here at Platinum to come up with those values. The vision I worked on, and that came to me pretty easily. It was the mission that gave me pause and made me sit down and think one morning, early in the morning, when I was sitting in my office at home and quiet and trying to think of what could be the mission. And I just took a legal pad out, started writing, and that's what came out. It was meaningful capitalism. Meaningful because we are involved in activities in helping companies in trouble. Meaningful because we save jobs. We've saved thousands of jobs over the years with companies that were close to closing their doors. And we've been able to come in as interim management and help these companies get through a really difficult time and get them turned around. And when you're saving jobs in a small town in western Minnesota, and there's 250 employees, and there's not another large-scale employer in that area, in that county, for maybe 20 miles, the impact that a closed plant can have on a small community, whether it's outstate Minnesota or in the middle of Tennessee, it doesn't make any difference. It's really considerable. It has a heavy impact. And so I felt that the work we were doing, we had just come off an engagement where we literally did save a company that was going to close its doors. The bank was foreclosing, and we stepped in as interim management, and we turned the company around. And that saved all those jobs. That we didn't lose an employee. We grew the company over the next year and a half, and then we went on to another project. But that's meaningful work when you can get up in the morning and know that you're doing the kind of work that is saving jobs and saving companies. That brings a purpose, and it answers the question: why am I doing what I'm doing? And if you can answer that question, the why, that really helps, I think, in terms of getting yourself up in the morning and be motivated to bring real value to your work each and every day.
You know, way back, I was editor of a magazine called Business Ethics in the mid-90s. And whenever I told people I was editor of Business Ethics, they would say, "Ha, that's an oxymoron." And I got so tired of hearing that. But there is a perception out there.
I say that, Dale, because if you watch literally almost every movie that comes out of Hollywood that involves any kind of a business character, he's a charlatan, he's a crook, there's fraud involved. He's a bad character, and that's what Hollywood has bought off on. And unfortunately, they fill the screens with bad images of business people.
Oh yeah, yep.
People I know, the hardworking people that build these businesses, they're the farthest thing from a bad actor.
Yeah.
They're the ones who keep this economy going and keep it growing
Yep.
and provide jobs.
Yeah, and you and I know that, and I wanted to ask you though, with that perception of the oxymoron, some people also seem to think that it'd be easier to just do a takeover rather than a turnaround, or that it'd be easier to just focus on non-meaningful capitalism. And is it harder and more expensive to do meaningful capitalism?
I actually think it's easier because when you're trying to do something that isn't as meaningful, I think the work is harder. You don't wake up in the morning and feel that you're providing any kind of a meaningful activity if you're involved in it just purely for the buck, for the money. And the takeover artists, and there are those out there in the capitalist business community who will use leverage every chance they get. But the vast majority of people that I know in this business community here in the Twin Cities and throughout the country are decent, hardworking people, and they just want a chance to make a good living. And if they're the employer, the owner, to provide jobs for more people, and it becomes a real family within many of these companies. They work together every day to accomplish their goals, and it's all very meaningful and very, very good. Yeah, there's always those out there who are trying to force the system to do what it's not meant to do. There are those who do commit fraud. We've been involved in bankruptcy cases and representing creditors that were defrauded by some people, but those are few and far between.
With the companies today, there are many that perhaps hadn't had the time that you were able to take 20 years ago. And that was also about 20 years after you had started your business. So with those companies that are in the thick of it today, any advice on how they could step back and think about purpose and meaningful capitalism while they're busy putting out fires and just trying to keep the lights on?
Good question. Another good question. I think that if a firm or company gets together and decides that they are going to be meaningful in their business community, there's a lot of ways to do that. There's ways to have outreach. There's ways to donate to the community. There's the 5% Club here in town that businesses, the major corporations, are donating 5% of their profits to meaningful causes. Uh, I've been a part of meetings of a foundation in town that gives away approximately $100 million a year throughout this community, in the Twin Cities community, to further the arts, to further other nonprofit ventures that are doing good for the community. All of that money that's been donated came from businesses that the family owned. And over the years, those businesses have grown and become more valuable and have given back over the years. It's been phenomenal. So, yeah, there's lots of ways for companies to decide how they want to make their form of capitalism even more meaningful.
Yep. It's just a matter of do they have the time right now, because they're, I reached out to one CEO earlier today, hoping to get an interview with him, and he sent back a note, nice note saying, "I am just swamped." And he's like, no time to come up for air. But it
Yeah.
also seems to me like it's a really important time to remember meaningful capitalism. So any additional thoughts on that? Like how can you think about it when you're so busy with the tactics?
Well, well-run companies participate in planning. It's part of what they do, and they know they need to do it. And I think nowadays, maybe we've got a little more time on our hands, maybe not, if you're swamped. But all businesses need to think a lot about the planning process and what they're going to include in part of that process. And with what's gone on here in the last 5 months in this country, I think it's worthy of some additional thought regarding how you as a business owner, or you as a group of people who are running a business for an investor, for a family, how you can bring meaning to what you're doing, and how you can reach out, how you can do things within the community that are truly going to make a difference, and can bring true meaning to what you do each and every day.
Well, that sounds good. Dean, were there any questions I should have asked you that I didn't get to?
I just want to share with you, I brought with me, when we decided we're going to talk about meaningful capitalism, I brought with me the U.S. Patent and Trademarks trademark they gave us in 2012 of meaningful capitalism. I don't know if you can read that or not,
Yep.
but it's the trademark registration number 4,157,298 in the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for the term meaningful capitalism. It hangs on our wall here in our firm, and people that come in, our clients, other folks around the business community that come in, often look at that and say, oh, you actually have that trademarked, huh? Yeah, we do. We think it's that important. And every company should think a lot about their mission statement. Why are they doing what they're doing? And how can their mission statement add more meaning to what they're doing?
Well, it sounds good. And you've done it, not only is it on the wall, but like you said before, you've helped hundreds and hundreds of companies with that. So thanks again, Dean. Thanks for sharing your time today with everybody, and also your experience and why meaningful capitalism is so important.
Thank you, Dale. Appreciate it.
I want to thank everybody else for tuning in today. If you'd like to learn more about Dean or the Platinum Group, you can call 952-829-5700. You can also learn more about the Platinum Group and how it brings meaningful capitalism to life by going to its website, theplatinumgrp.com. Thanks again for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day.